In this video, we're going to look at what potentially could be my new set of irons for 2025 to help me win my first pro tournament. And they felt good. As you may know, I'm a Mizuno staff player, which means I've had the irons in the bag that I'm currently using since April last year, which are the Mizuno Pro 243s. Now, if we look just here, we'll see my strokes gain score for my approach play, which actually has been the worst part of my game for the past year. It's minus 2.79 with my tee shots coming in close. So it's an area in which I need to find some improvement. And the 243s that I've been using sit in the middle of the Mizuno Pro lineup. We have the blade and then we have the hollow body. The 243 has a tiny bit of cavity on it, but predominantly is aimed at the better player and for those that want to work the ball. But now I could probably do with a little bit of help. And this is where the Mizuno JPX 925 Forged comes in. So these JPX 925 Forged are the fourth and final installment of this JPX release cycle. They are for the aspiring elite player who maybe wants that Mizuno Pro look, but also wants a little bit of forgiveness to help them get the most out of their iron game. So why would I consider the JPX 925 Forge when historically I would play something more from the elite players lineup? And that's the first thing I think maybe why I would consider these golf clubs. As I've said in the past, from when I was an amateur to turning pro, I've always wanted that blade looking golf club. I wanted something that looked sleek, sexy. I didn't care about forgiveness. I didn't care about cavities. I wanted something that looked as small as possible and looked as clean as possible. And actually, when you get this JPX 925 Forged in hand, I think it screams that. When we look at maybe the brothers in this lineup, the HL, the Pros and the standard JPXs, they do look a little bit bigger because that is what they are designed to do. They're designed to have that bigger footprint. But actually, when you get these clubs, and especially when you're up at the higher end of them, more of the 4 and the 5, what we see is when the club's in behind the golf ball, it doesn't look too offensive to me. It doesn't look too big like the other ones. The footprint is still small and it's still sleek. Even just holding it here and looking at the sole of the golf club, just the way that the sole's been designed to have a little bit of a different bounce profile, it looks sleek and it looks more like that player's golf club. And then when it's actually behind the golf ball, the top line looks nice and crisp and actually inspires a little bit of confidence from the looks there. It isn't saying to me, this is too heavy and cumbersome. It's something that I can say, well, it still actually has that look more towards the blade because of the compact profile and the minimal offset when you actually see it in behind the golf ball. All that being said, there's actually another iron from Mizuno that might put a little spanner in the works, but you'll have to check that release out very soon. And that is the second thing that makes me want to think I might need the JPXs, and that is forgiveness, especially in my longer irons. That was a 5 iron I've just hit there. And I think my game relies on getting it in the fairway and then actually trying to hit maybe a slightly longer iron in, maybe being a 7 iron and a 6 iron. And if I'm not quite on it with my swing, just like we saw from that one, we actually still get away with quite a lot with the JPX because of the way that this head is built, because of perimeter weighting that they've managed to harness during the construction of this. It means that the forgiveness is still going to be there while not compromising those players' looks. So for me, it just means that on my days when I'm not quite swinging the best, we're going to get a little bit more help. And that strokes gain number that we saw that needs improving, that actually should also start to see a little bit more improvement. There's also another aspect to take into consideration about the JPX 925 Forge, and it could be a positive one, but it also could be a little bit of a negative, and that is the distance. As I said, I want my iron game to improve, and one benefit or one positive of these irons is that they have stronger loft. So when I tested them side by side with my Mizuno Pro 243s, I had a 6 iron and I had a pitching wedge. What we found was that the JPXs were going further. Now that's great, because that means that when I'm in the fairway and I would normally be hitting a 7 iron, what we actually found was that the clubs were going one club further. Yes, there is stronger lofts, but then I've got that slightly shorter shaft and that little bit of forgiveness behind the head, which is going to inspire confidence for me. So having that one less club in my hand should ultimately lead to me hopefully seeing an improvement. Now I said it could also be considered a little bit of a negative, and that is because it throws into question set makeup. As we see stronger lofts appear in the irons, we're then going to have to add clubs. And one of the decisions that I made later last year was that I wanted to drop a wedge. I wanted to go from having a pitching wedge, a 50, a 54 and a 60 to just going back to what I grew up with and what I feel really comfortable being a pitching wedge, a 52 and a 58. Now in the long iron, when I'm seeing a little bit more forgiveness in the 4 and 5 iron, what's really good is that off the tee, I know if I were to hit shots using the 4 iron or the 5 iron, I'm going to get that added little bit of bonus of distance and forgiveness. But when we get down to the wedge area, that's a little bit tricky, because the pitching wedge comes in at 44 degrees. So that is leaving me 8 degrees of gap between that and my 52, unless I put the gap wedge in, which would be the 48. Thus then compromises what I see at the other end of the bag. So there's something to bear in mind there just with that. But if you're a player who maybe wants that little bit more distance and you don't maybe want to carry 3 woods or 2 woods and a hybrid, you maybe just want to have a 4 iron and 2 woods, that could benefit you. But for me, it's something that I need to be very much aware of. Something else to consider is whether you're going to actually get them in the chrome finish or the Darth Vader finish, as I'm calling it. There is a black edition of the JPX 925 forged, and by gosh, do they look good. They're giving me Mizuno Pro Fly High vibes, and that could be one consideration just to get these in the bag, because they're seriously good looking. Now, taking into consideration this distance talk, I've actually been out here at La Cala and been playing with these irons for the past 2 rounds, and I've actually not found the gapping to be too much of an issue with the pitching wedge and the 52. Even on shots around the green here, I would tend to see that with those stronger lofted clubs that are maybe aimed at a little bit more distance, they tend to be a little bit clumsy. But like I said earlier, because of the players like look and knowing it is a forged club, I'm getting that great feel off it. I've actually not found them to be too fiery and too uncontrollable. Little shots like that round the green, I'm still seeing that I'm getting a good amount of touch and response from them. So will these irons actually be the ones that I put into play for 2025? Well, ego is telling me that I might want to look at that other release that is coming very, very soon from Mizuno. But logically, I should stick with yes, because these irons are designed for the player who wants a little bit of forgiveness, gonna get a little bit of extra distance while still getting great looks and feel in that one package. But am I going to let go of that? One thing I have considered potentially is maybe doing a little bit of a combo set with the new releases that are coming and these JPXs, so maybe having 4, 5, 6 in those sort of mid to long irons, and then the mid to short irons I go in the new releases. But overall, I think they are ones that, as we see from Mizuno, they're always good looking, they always perform, and it's one that definitely you should consider. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and as well, if you want to potentially win some of these, why not check out the video that we have here on my previous iron fitting, where there's a fantastic giveaway for next year coming. Guys, thanks for watching, see you in the next video, check it out.